How about the message and mission of the founders? We put it in a nutshell. Hinduism, the message and mission is to show the way to ultimate truth, which is the merging of the human Atma, which is soul, into the super soul or Brahman, the ultimate. Enlightenment, for that was I born, for the good of all that lives. This is Buddhism, and those are the words of Gautama Buddha. Islam, for Muslims, it, which is the Quran, is the infallible word of God revealed to the Prophet Muhammad by the angel Gabriel. Judaism, you will keep my statutes and my judgments and my commandments, which if a man does, he shall live. So these were their message, mission. When it came to this person, he said words that are absolutely unique in any ancient literature. He said, I am. I am the way, I am the light. The Word became flesh, so he was the Word. I am the resurrection and the life. You will not find those words in a consistent manner from the lips of any other person who is a founder of any other religion or any other movement in the world. Every other founder said, look, I will show you the way. He said, I am that way. Every other founder would say, look, let me show you how to get enlightened, because I got enlightened. This person said, I am that light. The difference is very, very stark. It takes you from one direction clean to the other. Let me give you two examples. One with Gautama Buddha. At the age of 29, he left his home. He was a prince. Left his home and went in search of truth. For 6 years, he searched for truth. The way he did it was to deny himself a whole lot of things. Food. Sometimes he would go for one whole week with just one morsel of food. And sometimes 2 weeks with just one morsel of food. He would keep standing up and never sit down, or sit down and never stand up. He would lay on a couch of thorns. He would pull out the hair of his beard and the hair of his head, searching for the light. Finally, after 6 years, under a ficus tree, he says he was enlightened. Let us accept that claim. Yes, because you remember when we started out, we said we are not in a position to challenge their claims. We cannot say you said it wrong. All we can do is look at their claims and just put it side by side. That's what we'll do. Gautama Buddha said he was super enlightened after searching desperately. It was an all-consuming, desperate search for light. After that, he was enlightened. Compare that then with this person. There is no record of him ever searching for light. There is no torturous process by which he went, denying himself so that he would get light. He simply said, I am the light. The difference is very clear. Whether it's true or not, we are not in a position to say. All we know, it is definitely different. Another comparison is with Muhammad. Muhammad was called the seal of the prophets. And one of the reasons he is called the seal of the prophets is because of one night experience. It's called Isra, night journey. One night, Angel Gabriel woke him up in Mecca and said, come along with me, and put him on the heavenly horse, steed. Buruk was the name, and flew him from Mecca to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. As soon as they alighted on the Temple Mount, there was a ladder going up. It went through the 6th and on to the 7th heaven where Allah dwells. And the angel Gabriel took him up that ladder. Each ladder and each heaven was presided by a specific person. There was Abraham, there was Jesus, there was John, and all the rest. And finally they came up to the 7th, at the level at which Allah dwells. And that's spent some time there and then came back. There's a question whether it was a real journey or a mystical journey. We don't know. But when he said it to the people, they said, wow, that's a tremendous experience. And one of the criteria, the credentials that he could be called the seal of the prophets is because of this. Because he was taken up to the level of Allah. Let's grant that he did go up there. One night, he went up through the 7 heavens to the 7th, where Allah dwells, and then came back. So if we accept that, this man said, the place where Muhammad went to visit is the where I dwell. That's where I come from. And I came down here for a visit. So when you look at that, the origins and the direction of travel is exactly the opposite. Inherent in Muhammad's claim is that he lives on this earth and went up to heaven for a visit. Inherent in Jesus' claim is that he lives there in the supernatural dimension and came down here for a visit. Who will know more about Byron Bay? Somebody who has lived here all his life? Or me, who came from, say, India and then was driven around here and taken to the lighthouse and took some pictures and the next flight went home? Who will know more about Byron Bay and the truth about Byron Bay? That's the point. Teaching versus life. This was to me a real acid test. A test that I thought was strong and basic. And here's the question I asked of these founders. You brought some good teachings and some tremendous principles. How did your life match with your own principles and your own teachings? This is one of the teachings. When a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires can alone achieve peace. All religious literature, the world over, when they describe incessant desires and sense gratification, it also includes the sexual part of our makeup. When Ayana Ghosha heard of Radha's adultery, Radha was Ayana Ghosha's wife. And Krishna, the god of the Hindus, had committed adultery with Ayana Ghosha. His favorite was Radha. He had many others. Our holy books tell us of gods, sages, and heroes who, though high-minded, were addicted to sensuous passions. They were addicted to sensuous passions. So the leaders or the top ones of the Hindus, their own teaching said you must move away from sense gratification. Move away from those desires, those sexual desires. Krishna, the 8th incarnate of the god Vishnu, is said to, in their own writings, are said to have had 16,000 wives and fathered 180,000 sons. Not much of not much of transcendental meditation, but we recognize that that is how they lived. Buddhism. Here, venerable gentlemen, are the 4 rules about the offenses which deserve expulsion. These are the words of Gautama Buddha himself, the founder. He said, if a monk should have sexual intercourse with anyone, out he goes. The fact is, Gautama Buddha himself, Siddhartha was his name as a prince, was kept in the upper levels of the palace in which he lived because his father did not want him to come down and mingle with the people. There were 4 things you were not supposed to see: old age, disease, suffering, and death. And so he was kept in the top floors. How do you keep a young man away from the rest of the society? He was surrounded up there by women minstrels. They entertained him with wanton swayings, butterfly kisses, and seductive glances. Thus he became a captive of these women who were well versed in the subject of sensuous enjoyment and indefatigable in sexual pleasure. On the night of the renunciation, he awoke to find the female musicians sleeping, some with their bodies wet with trickling phlegm, some their dress fallen apart, so as to plainly disclose their nakedness. This is in the plural, musicians. Obviously, it was a sexual orgy. This had been going on from the age of 16. Night after night, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, for 13 years. In fulfillment of my vows, I have plucked out the hair of my head and the hair of my beard, have gone down to the water punctually thrice before nightfall to wash away what? The evil. Now, I'm not calling what he had evil. These are his own words. There was evil there that needed washing away. Islam. Then you may marry other women who seem good to you, 2, 3, or 4 of them. Chapter 4 of the Quran is the only place which allows a Muslim to marry up to 4 wives. And so in many of the countries where you have monogamy, they do allow a Muslim to have more than 1. And this is the only place, the maximum is 4 over there. In the traditional writings of the Muslims, Muhammad had 11 wives. Chapter 48 says, we, who is Allah, have given you, Muhammad, a glorious victory so that Allah may forgive your past and future what? Sins. It's not me who's calling sins in him. Those are their very words. Did he not find you in error and guide you? Those sins needed forgiveness, and they were found in Muhammad. Muhammad is supposed to be called the most ideal man to a Muslim, and it is true. They revere him, not at all like Allah, because Allah is Allah, God. But as a human being, he's supposed to be the most perfect human being. But he still had sins, mistakes. Thou shalt not kill, says Judaism. Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness. Let's look at 3 of them. So Moses, he looked this way and that way, and we saw no one, he killed him and hid him in the sand. What's that? Murder. Abraham, so he went into Hagar and she conceived. Hagar was not his wife. That's adultery. And then he goes and tells another king that she is my sister. A half lie. So a towering personality like Abraham, still falling short. David sent messengers and took her. Who is her? Bathsheba. Bathsheba was not his wife. Right away there is adultery. And then to cover it up, he sends the husband to the forefront of the battle, specifically so that he would be killed. Set him in the forefront of the battle. Move away from him, he told the commander, so that he will die. By any standards, that is premeditated, cold-blooded murder.